The MAS Model 36 was a military bolt-action rifle, first adopted in 1936 by France and intended to replace the Berthier and Lebel series of service rifles. It saw service long past the World War II period. It was manufactured by manufactured arms de Saint-Étienne, one of several government-owned arms factories in France. Because production was initiated late in 1937, not enough MAS-36 rifles were available to arm French infantry when the war broke out in September 1939. Mass production finally caught up after World War II, and MAS-36 rifles became widely used in service during the First Indochina War, the Algerian War and the Suez Crisis. Altogether, about 1.1 million MAS-36 rifles had been manufactured when production ceased in 1952. Description: the MAS-36 is a short, carbine-style rifle with a two-piece stock and slab-sided receiver. It is chambered for the modern, rimless 7.5 x 54 mm French cartridge, a shortened version of the 7.5 x 57 mm MAS Modèle 1924 cartridge that had been introduced in 1924 for France's FM-24 29th light machine gun. The rifle was developed based on French experience in World War I and combines various features of other rifles used, like the British SMLE rifle, British P14U, SM1917 Enfield rifle, and the German Gewehr 98, to produce an ugly, roughly made, but immensely strong and reliable service rifle. The MAS-36 bolt handle was bent forward in an awkward fashion, to bring it into a convenient position for the soldier's hand, some of which found today have since been bent backwards into a facing downwards position like that of many other bolt-action rifles. The MAS-36 had a relatively short barrel and was fitted with large aperture and post sights designed for typical combat ranges. Typical for French rifles of the period, the MAS-36 had no manual safety. The rifle was designed with an iron sightline consisting of a rear tangent-type aperture sight element that was calibrated for 7.5 x 54 mm French MLE 1929C ammunition for 100 to 1,200 meters in 100 meters increments. The front sighting element consisted of a front post that was hooded to reduce glare under unfavorable light conditions and add protection for the post. There were 25 rear aperture elements available for the sightline to optimize it horizontally and laterally in 2.32 mm increments during assembly. At the arsenal, these arsenal-mounted rear aperture elements shifted to point of aim 13.5 or 27 cm left to right or up or down at a range of 200 meters. It was normally carried with a loaded magazine and empty chamber until the soldier was engaged in combat, though the rifle's firing mechanism could be blocked by raising the bolt handle. The MAS-36 carried a 17-inch spike bayonet reversed in a tube below the barrel. To use the bayonet, a spring plunger was pressed to release the bayonet. It was then free to be pulled out, turned around, and fitted back into its receptacle. Like the Lebel Model 1886 rifle, the MAS-36 featured a stacking hook offset to the right side of the barrel for standing a number of the rifles upwards. Background: though intended to replace the Lebel Model 1886 and Berthier rifles as well as Berthier carbines, budget constraints limited MAS-36 production, and it served along with the former rifles in many French army and colonial units. units. During World War II, the MAS-36 was often reserved for frontline infantry units, with other troops and reservists often receiving elderly Berthier and Lebel type rifles. After the Battle of France, the Germans took over a large number of MAS-36s, which were given the designation Gewehr 242 and put into service with their own garrison units based in occupied France and later the Volkssturm. Post-war usage. The MAS-36 was extensively used by French Army and colonial defense forces during France's post-war counter-insurgency operations in the First Indochina War and the Algerian War, as well as in the Suez Crisis. During the Suez Crisis, French paratroop marksmen of the 2e MERPC employed telescope-sighted MAS-36 rifles to eliminate enemy snipers. The MAS-36 remained in service into the early 1960s as an infantry rifle, often serving with indigenous colonial units. It was officially a substitute standard rifle after France adopted the semi-automatic MAS-49 rifle series in 1949, though its bold design lives on in a dedicated sniper version of the rifle, the FRF-1, and its successor, the FRF-2 sniper rifle. After the war, civilian hunting rifle versions were made by MAS and by the gunsmith Jean Fournier. These half-stocked rifles were chambered for the 7x54mm Fournier, 7x57mm Mauser, 8x60mm S, and 10.75x68mm. Hunting rifles in the two latter calibers had integral muzzle brakes. Also imported into the United States were a few military surplus MAS-36 rifles, converted to 7.62x51mm NATO from 7.5x54mm. These rifles were modified to chamber the NATO round and also had an SKS-type trigger safety fitted to them. Variants: MAS-36 County Route 39 and MAS-36 equipped with a folding hollow aluminum stock designed for use by airborne forces. MAS-36 LG-48 and MAS-36 equipped with a 48mm rifle grenade launcher used in the First Indochina War. MAS-36 51sts and MAS-36 equipped with a 22mm NATO standard rifle grenade launcher. Fusil Model FRG-2, a highly modified MAS-36 rifle action equipped with a match barrel with harmonic compensator and telescopic sight for use by designated marksmen. Uses: France, Free French Forces, Vichy Regime, French Resistance, Monaco, Compagnie des Carabiniers du Prince.